Hold on to your seats, Heartland fans. Season 19 just dropped a game-changing twist that no one saw coming. Ty Borden is back, alive and well, leaving us with burning questions about his disappearance and sudden return. How does Amy handle this upsetting reunion? What happened all these years? And why is he back now? Let's take a look at the shocking and heartbreaking event in Heartland history. For years, Ty had been a vital part of the show. His relationship with Amy Fleming was one of the core elements that drew viewers in. Ty was Amy's love interest, a partner who was supportive, and their daughter, Lindy's father figure. His death in a previous season was a heartbreaking moment that left a permanent void in Amy's life. Her struggle with grief and the difficulty of moving on without him were seen by viewers. The emotional impact of his death was felt by fans across the globe. The storyline that followed Amy learning to rebuild her life without Ty was one of the most poignant arcs of the show. However, in the first episode of Season 19, the impossible happens. Ty returns. Amy and the viewers are both stunned when he shows up at Heartland's doorstep, which is nothing short of traumatizing. It raises the immediate question, how could this happen? Ty had been presumed dead for several seasons. Fans had already accepted that his journey had ended, and they had watched Amy try to find her way without him. His return after so long is a twist no one could have predicted. Ty's reappearance is the emotional heart of the episode, and it shifts the dynamics of the story completely. Amy's grief was being challenged by his sudden arrival, which caused an emotional upheaval. She must confront a reality she never thought possible, that the man she mourned, the man she accepted as gone, is standing right in front of her. As Amy tries to cope with the overwhelming shock of seeing her husband alive again, she experiences joy, disbelief, rage, and confusion. Ty's return is more than just a plot twist. It's a moment of reckoning for Amy, who spent years moving forward without him. She had raised their daughter, continued her work at Heartland, and slowly healed from the pain of losing him. Now, with his return, Amy faces the impossible task of understanding how Ty could have survived and why he stayed away for so long. This moment has a significant emotional impact. Viewers can feel how difficult it is for Amy to reconcile her love for him with the reality of the time that has passed and the life she's built in his absence. In short, the return of Ty Borden in Season 19, Episode 1, is the moment that reshapes everything. It answers a storyline that many people thought was over for good, and it raises new questions and opens up new possibilities for the future. His return is a game-changing event in the Heartland universe, one that sets the stage for new emotional journeys, challenges, and growth for the characters, especially Amy, as they try to understand what this new chapter in their lives will look like. This traumatic twist creates immense anticipation for what will happen next, leaving both characters and fans eagerly awaiting answers to the many questions surrounding Ty's return. How did he carry on? In the first place, why did he leave? What does this mean for Amy and her future? These are just a few of the mysteries that will unfold in the coming episodes, making Season 19 a pivotal chapter in the Heartland series. Ty Borden has been a central figure in Heartland for many seasons, and his death was one of the most emotional and heart-wrenching moments in the series. For years, viewers watched as Amy Fleming, Ty's wife, navigated the profound grief of losing her partner and the father of her child, Lindy. His death marked a significant turning point in the show. Ty's tragic journey had come to an end, according to the characters and the audience. In the subsequent seasons, his absence shaped much of the plot, particularly Amy's personal growth, as she learned to cope without him. In Season 14, Ty was shot to death while attempting to aid in the rescue of a wild horse. The event was shocking and devastating for everyone involved. The emotional toll that Ty's death had on his family, particularly Amy, was the focus of the narrative surrounding his death. She went through raw and intense grief, and viewers shared in that painful journey. She had a hard time reconciling her life without him and the loss. The storyline of Heartland was severely disrupted by Ty's death, which fans mourned as deeply as the characters did. For Amy, the experience was isolating and incredibly difficult. As they collaborated to run the Heartland Ranch, her personal and professional relationships with Ty had deepened. Their love story was central to the show, and Ty's death symbolized a significant emotional shift. After his passing, Amy had to find ways to carry on. She raised Lindy as a single parent while maintaining her role at Heartland. Throughout this period, Amy showed incredible strength and resilience, even though the pain never fully left her. The seasons that followed focused on Amy's journey of healing, acceptance, and rediscovering purpose without the man who had been her anchor. The rest of the family, Jack, Lou, and others also had to cope with Ty's absence. It had an effect on the ranch's day-to-day operations and raised questions about the future of the family. Heartland itself, Amy eventually became involved in new relationships, trying to balance her enduring love for Ty with the responsibilities of her growing life. Her story was one of grief and recovery, but also of healing, change, and the passage of time. For viewers, watching Amy continue to grow and adapt without Ty was part of what kept the show emotionally engaging. It was a powerful and relatable portrayal of rebuilding after a monumental loss. Amy's thoughts, on the other hand, were never far from Ty's memory. As she moved forward, his absence continued to echo through the series. Amy often reflected on how different life would have been if he had been there. The emotional wounds, though healing, remained open. Amy's journey was forever changed by Ty's death, and the pain of that loss never truly went away. The manner in which the show dealt with his absence in subsequent seasons exacerbated the tragedy. His death had been declared final and unchangeable, and there was no sign that he would return. The story shifted to reflect the realization that Ty was no longer with us, both from a viewer's perspective and within the world of the show. Learning to live without him, accepting that the love of her life was no longer part of her world, framed Amy's healing and growth. Ty's sudden return in Heartland Season 19, Episode 1 takes on profound significance in this emotional and narrative context. Amy and the fans are confronted with the impossible reality that Ty is still alive after years of mourning and believing he was lost to her forever. This not only comes as a surprise to Amy, but also to viewers who had grown accustomed to the idea that the death of his character would never be undone. Ty's return opens up a wide array of questions about what happened during the years he was believed to be dead. How did he survive? Why did he leave in the first place? What exactly has he been up to all this time? The tension and excitement in the season premiere are driven by these questions and by Ty's emotional impact. The twist challenges everything the audience believed about Ty's storyline and brings new layers of complexity to the relationships between characters, especially between Amy and Ty, as they try to make sense of his return. The idea that Ty Borden's journey had ended in tragedy was fundamental to the show's story. It affected both the characters and the audience deeply. His death was a defining moment in Heartland's history, one that shaped the direction of the show for many seasons. With his return, the show takes a bold and unexpected turn, opening up a host of new possibilities and emotional journeys for the characters to explore. In Heartland, the relationship between Amy Fleming and Ty Borden was one of the central emotional pillars of the series. Viewers were captivated for many years by their love story, which was built on mutual support, trust, and a shared love of the land and animals of Heartland. When Ty passed away in Season 14, it was a devastating turning point for Amy and for the show as a whole. Amy's grief after Ty's death was palpable, and her inability to move on without him became a major theme in the following seasons. The return of Ty in Season 19 presents an incredibly complicated and emotional situation for Amy, as she is forced to process a reality that is almost impossible to accept. A roller coaster of emotions ensues when Amy finally sees Ty. It's likely that she feels both surprise and disbelief at first. After years of mourning Ty's death and learning to live without him, the idea of him returning is nearly inconceivable. Amy has already spent so much time grieving, coping, and coming to terms with the fact that Ty was gone. In addition to being a devastating emotional blow, the idea that he could have been alive all this time without her knowing is a profound shock to everything she has endured. It's as though the world Amy had been living in, one where Ty was no longer part of her life, suddenly unravels, and she is faced with a completely new reality. Amy's first reaction to seeing Ty is likely a complex blend of emotions. Ty's return presents the opportunity to rekindle the life and love they shared. There is joy on one hand. Amy has longed for Ty, and the thought of him being alive again would naturally stir a deep sense of happiness. However, there is also disorientation, resentment, and even betrayal. Amy has lived with the pain of Ty's death for so long, and his sudden return raises questions she doesn't have answers to. Why did he go away? Why didn't he return earlier? Why was she left to face the world alone with no explanation? Amy would undoubtedly be torn between these questions and the overwhelming feelings of seeing Ty once more. Ty's return is not just an opportunity for reunion, it forces Amy to confront unresolved issues from their past. She had built a life without him over the years, a life that she had gradually accepted. She had developed new strategies for moving on, juggling her duties at Heartland with raising their daughter, Lindy. Amy had been compelled to evolve, and coping with her partner's death was part of that evolution. She had to learn how to raise her child by herself, run the ranch, and mend her broken heart. Seeing Ty again challenges everything she worked so hard to accept. She is forced to reevaluate everything she thought she knew about her past and her future, as if a chapter in her life she thought was closed has suddenly reopened. For Amy, Ty's return is also a confrontation with the grief that had been a constant companion since his death. She had learned to live with the pain of losing him, but now that she realizes he has always been out there, the pain of that loss is magnified. This can feel like a betrayal, especially given that Ty had not come back sooner, and she had been left to deal with his death alone. Amy may question whether Ty's return is genuine, or if there are deeper reasons for his disappearance that she doesn't yet understand. The sudden return of someone presumed dead for so long would leave her unsure of how to move forward in this new chapter of their lives. The emotional weight of Amy's reaction is further compounded by the fact that she is a mother. Ty's absence meant that Amy had to navigate the challenges of single parenthood, raising Lindy without him. Amy had found strength in being a mother, but Ty's return forces her to reevaluate what it means to co-parent and share responsibility. For their daughter Lindy, who had grown up without Ty, this sudden change in her life would require significant adjustment. Amy's reaction would reflect not only her own feelings, but also how the family unit as a whole is affected by this reunion. Moreover, Amy's reaction to Ty's return would be influenced by the fact that she lost Ty not only as a husband, but also as a partner in their shared work at Heartland. As the various layers of their relationship are revealed, it's clear that the two had built something together, both a family and a legacy. Now, Amy must process how that foundation has been altered by Ty's absence and return. During his absence, Amy carried with her the strong bond they had formed over the ranch and its animals. Now, she is confronted with a partnership that may have changed in ways that are challenging to navigate. At this point, Amy's personal development over the years is linked to another aspect of her reaction. She has grown as a person, learning to accept her independence, deal with her grief, and make her own plans for the future. Amy has gone through significant personal growth, and Ty's return makes her question how she sees herself. How does she fit into a future with him again? Is it necessary for her to give up a portion of the life she created without him? Ty's return forces Amy to reconsider who she has become and what she wants for the future. The unanticipated return of the man she once loved threatens the equilibrium she had achieved in moving forward. Additionally, Ty's return raises practical concerns regarding the couple's reintegration into one another's lives. Amy will need to navigate their relationship now that they are reunited, while also dealing with the emotional fallout of the years they've spent apart. The first steps toward reconnecting will be filled with difficult conversations, healing, and adjusting to the changes in each other's lives. While Amy and Ty had undoubtedly built a life together over the years, reintegration may not be as straightforward as picking up where they left off. After everything that has taken place during their separation, Amy and Ty will need to reestablish trust and mutual understanding. In conclusion, Amy's reaction to Ty's return likely takes her on an emotional and complicated journey. She will undoubtedly experience a wave of confusion, rage, and betrayal when she sees the man she loved alive once more, alongside feelings of joy and relief. Amy has learned to live without Ty for years, and his return forces her to deal with emotions she thought she had already processed. She must work through the complexities of their relationship, their past, and the potential future they may be able to build together again. Her emotions will be layered and multifaceted as she comes to terms with the shock of his return. The return of Ty Borden in Heartland Season 19 presents a multitude of unanswered questions that immediately arise due to the shocking and unexpected nature of his reappearance. For years, both the characters in the show and the audience believed Ty's story had ended in tragedy, with his death serving as a central emotional turning point in the series. The other characters, including Jack and Lou, had spent years mourning his death and attempting to rebuild their lives, especially Amy, the love of his life. Everyone must now reevaluate the story of Ty's death and its aftermath in light of the possibility that he could return healthy and alive. How did Ty survive? Is the first and perhaps most obvious question. This is important because his death was portrayed as sudden and fatal. He had been shot in a traumatic incident while trying to save a wild horse. His passing left Amy devastated, and the idea that he could have survived such a life-threatening injury seems almost impossible. The suspense is heightened by the fact that the show does not immediately provide an explanation for how Ty survived. Did he somehow escape death and find a way to heal on his own? Was he rescued by someone after the incident? Or was there a miraculous turn of events that allowed him to survive? These are the key questions viewers will have to grapple with as they follow the story of Ty's return. The rest of the season and the dynamics between the characters, particularly Amy, will likely be shaped by their response to his survival. Another crucial question is why he left in the first place. Even if he did survive, the fact that he didn't speak to anyone for so long is deeply troubling. It would make sense for the characters, especially Amy, to want to know why he didn't return sooner. A huge emotional question surrounds his sudden disappearance, especially given the trauma of his injury. Did Ty leave in order to shield his family from additional suffering, or was there another factor that caused him to break off all ties? Perhaps there were circumstances in his life that made him feel he couldn't come back. It's possible that the events that led to his departure left him with mental and physical scars before he could confront the people he loved. Did he require time to recuperate? Ty's emotional journey and motivations can only be fully understood by answering these questions. His reasoning for leaving and remaining out of contact will be essential to understanding his character arc in this new chapter. Additionally, why didn't he contact Amy or anyone else? This question closely follows the previous one. Amy's reaction to seeing Ty alive is undoubtedly a mix of joy, confusion, and hurt. Why didn't he reach out to her, especially when they had been so close? Amy had to rebuild her life without knowing the truth about his survival, and the pain of losing him was only worsened by his silence. Why didn't he let her know he was alive, if only to give her peace of mind? What specific experiences did he have while he was away from Heartland? The years of silence suggest that he experienced something significant, something that may have kept him from returning or even letting anyone know he was alive. Did he face further physical challenges that prevented his return? Was he involved in something that made reconnection impossible? Perhaps he was dealing with personal trauma, struggling with guilt over his presumed death, or trying to heal from emotional scars. As the season progresses, Ty's mysterious absence will likely be examined, revealing more about his experiences and the factors that influenced his decision to return now. It will be essential to understand Ty's experiences during his absence in order to grasp how his return affects the other characters and how it fits into the larger narrative of Heartland. The overarching question that needs to be answered is how the other characters will react to Ty's return. Their responses are just as important as Amy's. Jack, Amy's grandfather, will have his own set of questions, as he was also deeply affected by Ty's passing. Ty looked up to Jack as a father figure, and their bond was based on love and mutual respect. How will Jack process seeing the young man he thought was gone forever suddenly appear in front of him? There will undoubtedly be conflicting feelings in Amy's reaction to Ty's return. She spent years grieving and slowly coming to terms with the loss of her husband. She is now confronted with the unimaginable reality that the man she thought she had lost forever has returned to her life. However, Ty's return raises a lot of questions about the past. In addition to rekindling their relationship, Amy will have to face the emotions of a past she thought she had put to rest. She must process the pain of his absence, as well as the feelings of betrayal and abandonment that may have resulted from his mysterious departure as a mother and a woman who has built a life without him. She will need to address these emotions. This return is more than just a reunion. It is also a confrontation with the grief, animosity, and confusion that have been simmering below the surface for years. Ty's return may be even more significant than the fact that he has returned. Why has he chosen this moment to come back to Heartland? Has he rethought his decision to stay away because of something in his life? Because he has been on a journey of self-discovery or healing, does he have the courage to confront the people he has left behind? And perhaps most poignantly, has he returned to reestablish his life and reconnect with his family? Or is there a deeper, more intricate motive? These questions will heavily influence the emotional arc of the show. As Ty's motivations become clearer over time, his decision to return at this particular moment will likely have far-reaching consequences for both him and everyone around him. Another important aspect is how Ty's return will affect the family and the ranch as a whole. Beyond the emotional impact, in Ty's absence, Heartland, both the family and the business, has undergone significant transformation. Amy has had to adapt, take on new responsibilities, and raise their daughter Lindy on her own. She has learned to live on the ranch without her partner, and Ty's arrival after all these years may undermine the foundation she has established. As Amy and Ty attempt to reconnect, the dynamics within the family will inevitably shift. Everyone involved will need to reevaluate their roles in light of Ty's return. Will he be able to resume his former life, or will he find that things have changed too much for a smooth reintegration? Ty's return brings far more emotional weight for Amy than just a reunion. She has spent years rebuilding her life, learning to live without Ty, even though his memory has always stayed with her. She has developed as a person, taking on more responsibilities not only as a mother, but also as a family and Heartland leader. Ty's return could jeopardize the stability Amy worked so hard to achieve. She had come to terms with being a widow and his death. Now, she must face what his return means for her personally. Is she still interested in being with him? Or have her feelings evolved due to her own growth and the passage of time? The emotional questions for Amy are deep and multifaceted. She is forced to confront her past and reimagine a future that now includes Ty once more. Ty's return centers on the themes of healing and closure. The lack of closure was one of the most difficult aspects of his absence. Amy never had the chance to properly say goodbye, and that left a permanent scar on her heart. Ty's sudden reappearance offers a chance to heal old wounds, but it also raises the possibility that those wounds may reopen. Will Amy's healing be further hampered by Ty's return, or will it provide her with closure? Her emotional journey will require her to reconcile the past with the present and try to make sense of the years they've lost. She must find a way to forgive him not just for herself, but for the sake of their daughter and their family. Ty's return also raises questions about the future of Heartland itself. Amy and Ty built something together both in terms of their shared work and their life. However, Amy adjusted to a new reality during his absence, with assistance from other family members. Now, with Ty's return, they will all have to navigate a wave of change emotionally, practically, and within the ranch's operations. What will Ty do at Heartland in the future? Will he try to get a new job, or will he find that things have changed so much that he can't just go back? His reintegration into the daily workings of Heartland will certainly be complicated by the changes that took place in his absence. Ty's relationship with Lindy is another major emotional thread. Amy had to raise Lindy alone, and Lindy was just a young child when Ty left. Now that she's older, she will have her own reaction to the return of a father she's only known through stories and photos. As Lindy navigates this emotional reunion, the dynamic between father and daughter is likely to be one of the most moving storylines of the season. Rebuilding their bond will require time, effort, and vulnerability on both sides. Ultimately, the reasons why Ty left and why he has returned now will be central to Heartland's ongoing narrative. Over the course of the season, these questions will come up, providing the characters with deep emotional arcs and a powerful journey of healing, forgiveness, and transformation for the audience. As Ty's motivations and the truth behind his absence are revealed, they will shape the emotional direction of the story and determine whether the characters, especially Amy, can move forward into this new chapter of their lives. Thank you so much for joining me today and diving into these powerful questions about Heartland Season 19. The investigation into Ty's unexpected return and Amy and the Heartland family's emotional journey has been an exciting ride. I hope you enjoyed this discussion and that it heightened your anticipation for the episodes to come. Don't forget to share your thoughts and feelings about Ty's return in the comments below. What do you think will happen next? How do you feel about Amy's journey? I can't wait to hear what you have to say. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like, subscribe for more Heartland content, and ring the notification bell so you never miss an update. Please let me know if you would like any additional changes, and thank you once more for being such an awesome member of this community